Jenny, congratulations. Great to have you back. It's hard to believe. I went through the history book just to make sure. But it was 2005, so it's been 9 years since the last show you did with Riley Kiley.
Wow. I actually, during the middle of the set, I kind of flashed on our set from 9 years ago, and I got a little sentimental. It was so long ago, and we were just really starting out, I mean, we had been playing in basements and garages and to no one for so long, but this was really the first big national opportunity that we had as a band, and we were so happy to be here. My first solo record, Rabbit Fur Coat, I put out in 2006, and that's while my band was still active. So it felt like, in a way, I was cheating on my band, and I would kind of keep these songs for myself and then kind of choose the more rockin' or poppy songs for my band. So I had two separate jobs for a while. Then when my band broke up and I started making this record, the possibilities were really endless. I could make whatever kind of record I wanted, and I wasn't really limited to, the secret batch of solo tunes. Well, it's not as if the songs are ripped from the pages of my diary, which I don't have one. Certainly, there's a lot of me in there, but I do take liberties and I create characters. And I sing about many different things. So I think you're finding a little bit of me in there, but there's also a bit of fantasy. Sadly, my life isn't all that interesting. Well, I've always been a fan of songwriters who have a sense of humor, like John Prine, Stephen Malkmus. Writers that talk about serious things but aren't afraid to also poke fun at them and have a sort of light quality to their songs as well. And I think it offsets a heavy lyric if you've got something funny following it up. I'm still learning. I love collaborating. And I grew up in a rock band, which is a very collaborative environment. So in my solo work, I've always looked to find mentors and collaborators. So every time I work with a new person, I learn so much about the process of making music, the art of recording, but also about myself and my own songs. And on The Voyager, I worked with Ryan Adams and Beck, two people who I admire very much, as songwriters. And they really pointed things out about some of my lyrics that I didn't really understand at first. So I'm very open, I think I'm just sort of in the middle of this journey. I direct messaged Ryan on Twitter. I'm now on social media. I've never been on social media. I was on Friendster for about 3 weeks, and then I committed Friendster suicide and sent out a very long sort of essay about, the perils of social media. So I find myself 10 years later on Twitter. I was searching for a spirit guide, for a mentor, and I reached out to Ryan and asked if I could come by. He had just finished building a studio in Hollywood and record one song. And by the end of the day, we had recorded 2 songs, and he asked if I wanted to recut everything that I had done so far at Paxamp at his studio. So it just sort of happened. I think it was kind of meant to be. With Beck, similar situation. I reached out to him, and he made time for me, and we worked on the first single on my record, Just One of the Guys. And a year went by, and I hadn't heard anything back from him, and I went in to mix what I had. I was mixing the record, and on the last day, I got the song from Beck, and he had finished it without me, and I put it on the record. Well, I was born in Las Vegas, Nevada, but I moved to Los Angeles, the LA area, when I was 2 or 3 years old, so I identify with being from Los Angeles, and I guess there's a certain association with LA music. I think people give us a hard time, because there's a certain attention to detail and craftsmanship. There's like the LA slick session guys. We're not afraid to hop on the Dan wagon, the Steely Dan wagon. it's okay to have great players, playing great songs. So I've always listened to those records and looked in the liner notes to see who was playing what. But as far as just growing up in a place where you can kind of fall asleep by the side of the swimming pool and wake up 20 years later, there's something about kind of being tucked away in LA and finding your voice as a writer.